This conference will now be recorded.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, thanks for that. So as we mentioned, so the today's session is about SAP Ariba, CIG especially, a demo session. So in this session, we're gonna cover the different high-level different topics with respect to CIG, the integration stuff, right? The high-level details in this session. So once we move forward with the live sessions, we're gonna discuss more in-depth details about all these topics, but today it's a glimpse of every aspect of these topics, what will be there inside, right? So these are the different topics which we're gonna try to cover as much as possible so that it will give you an little details about what exactly is the Ariba CIG, why it needs to be used, is there any different ways, right? So these are the topics which we're gonna cover, the overview, Ariba and CIG, the CIG add-on related details, what is Cloud Connector, why it is required, what needs to be enabled in order to access the CIG portal, the different configurations which we need to perform in the corresponding ERP systems in order to support these integrations, different integrations with the Ariba solutions we have, right? The different aspects within the Ariba CIG portal, what all stuff we have. Sorry, anyone has question? Okay. So moving forward, so in order to start, even before explaining what is exactly the CIG, I just do a quick recap of SAP Ariba. You all know, right? Since you are experts in this expertise or familiar with SAP Ariba, SAP Ariba is a cloud procurement solution, as you already know, which the buyers and sellers interact each others online using the Ariba business network in order to exchange these goods and the procurement stuff. Initially, it is as an on-premise software. Later, it is updated to the cloud, right? It's now the on-demand solution with which, using the Ariba business network solution, the e-commerce B2B solution, all the document exchange will happen so that the buyers and suppliers can find each other and do a business together using a single platform. So that's a quick overview of what exactly is Ariba. So initially it was a single company, later SAP hired or purchased this Ariba company. So that's how we rebranded it as SAP Ariba. So now what is the link with SAP ERP when coming to SAP Ariba, right? So all the customers or the organization master data generally present in their corresponding ERPs, whether it is SAP or is it some other external companies like Oracle, PeopleSoft, whatever it can be. All the organization data will be present in their corresponding ERPs. So connecting that ERP with this SAP Ariba solution is very much required in order to sync these transactions or all the documents, whatever we're going to perform, the transaction which we're going to create in the Ariba solution. So it's a one-to-one dependency there. So we need to have a tightly integrated environment between these two systems, SAP Ariba and ERP, in order to do this procurement business, right? So when it comes to ERP integration, Ariba provides different integration methods with the ERPs, right? So there are many truly bidirectional interfaces, means you create a request in Ariba, it goes to SAP, you'll get back a response. So there are many bidirectional interface, not just a synchronous way, but the bidirectional integration is possible so that each system is updated or connected together to have an update for each of the transactions, right? So like that you can integrate all the Ariba procure to pay business interfaces, or all the process can be achieved using SAP Ariba. So in order to do this integration, what are the options we have generally, right? So when any of the customers or organizations, they have SAP Ariba solution and they do have their ERP. So the initial process, so how they define or how they choose what is the best integration method, right? So that's very much important. So that's what I'll cover in the next slide, right? The Ariba integration overview. As we already talked about SAP with when comes to procurement process, they generally go with SAP Ariba. Even though there are different procurement tools online like Coupa, something else, here we are restricted to SAP Ariba solutions, right? The demo session. And when the customers having SAP Ariba and the SAP ERP, so now they wanted to integrate these in order to do or complete the entire procure-to-pay cycle. So how they will choose what is the best integration methods in order to connect SAP Ariba and CIG. So mainly because of the in order to fulfill all the customer centric goals, we need to consider few points when we decide any integration method, not just blindly go with okay, choose that middleware, choose this CIG or something else, right? There should be a proper reason. Also, it should fulfill the customer's investment. For example, any organization who has invested something on their processes, right? Either it can be ERP, on their teams, organizations, faculty. The companies will invest something on their ERPs mainly. So when deciding or concluding the integration method, we have to make sure whatever the ERP system, the features or the capabilities with which they have, we have to consider that when we also need to confirm the integration. That's main point, whether doing this integration, we have to cover this aspect of what is their customer CRP, how much have they have invested, what is their versions, which integration method is best for their ERP. So we have to make sure that is the first point in order to when deciding the integration method, right? It's not just simply select any integration method, but the integration method which we're going to propose during your implementation phase, it should be seamlessly connects these two systems. SAP Ariba and ERP should be seamlessly connected together so that in future there won't be any scenario like no, I mean we have to move to some other integration method. Why? Because this case is not supporting. So you have to evaluate clearly what are the different solutions in your scope of implementations, whether this integration method will fulfill that or not. Also, to the years to come, whatever integration method we suggest, it should be robust enough. Later, okay, I mean after a few years, okay, this integration method is not sufficient, so we have to upgrade, we have to add one more middleware connecting to this, right? So it should not be that case. So we have to think about in the future case also, whenever you are suggesting any integration method, so that needs to be kept in mind. What is SAP's best practices? That is another point which you have to keep in mind when confirming these integration methods also, not just for the functional stuff but the technical aspects also. You have to keep it in your mind whether the method which we are going to propose or use, is it robust enough and future proof, right? Along by supporting the SAP best practices. And also the main aspect is to in order to cover these customers investment and also to minimize overall implementation cost, not just go with use that use this, there should be proper reason. And also if you suggest something, you also make sure how much is the licensing cost for that. So all these aspects needs to be covered. If everything is ticked, then you are good to go by selecting this integration method, right? So in such case, when customer have both SAP Ariba solutions and SAP ERP, the best recommended approach of integration by SAP itself from their side, they will suggest Ariba CIG in order to integrate their enterprise solutions, right? Now we are calling all these systems as intelligent enterprise systems, right? So there shouldn't be something like when all the organizations are moving to this AI generation, so now everyone don't wants to sit manually configure all the solutions every time, keep on updating the service packs for the related softwares, right? Done are the days. Now everyone is moving to the intelligent enterprise system where the integration should be robust enough. You don't want to delay or I mean depend on all the service packs, hot fixes. So that's the another case anyway when comes to this for public clouds or the private clouds. we are not dependent on these kind of add-ons or something. That's another, but this is the basic, right? When you propose an integration solution to your organizations or customers, you have to keep it in mind. All these points are very much important, not just blindly saying. Even when we say CIG is recommended, analyze that whether this will fit in for all the Ariba solutions or process in scope of implementation, right? So below is again the picture which we are representing. On the left side, we do have the buyer side. On the supplier, buyer can have different SAP ERPs, right? If it is SAP ERPs, the integration method as we suggested or recommended by SAP itself is gonna done using Ariba Cloud Integration Gateway. So now Ariba Cloud Integration Gateway is rebranded by SAP itself. The name is changed, right, to Managed Gateway for Spend
Kumar,
and
we are able
Business
to see only
Network.
first slide, not the second one.
You mean the Ariba quick overview, or you are seeing
Uh, we are
integration
we are
overview?
we are not able to see the slides. Only the first slide we are able to see.
What is the name of the slide you are seeing?
Ariba CIG demo.
Oh, okay. Let me stop sharing and
Same
try.
for me.
I'm very sorry. I don't know what happened. Let me retry sharing. Can you see it now?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah. So, I mean, generally I convert this, the Ariba quick overview, the integration aspect when it comes to ERP, and also the aspects which I mentioned, right? What and all points needs to be covered when you select the integration method. So this is the picture currently I'm talking about. Left side buyers, on the right side supplier. Supplier can be of any type of supplier. They can just not want only different formats. The Ariba business network is capable of converting that commerce extensible markup language document which generally Ariba sends, right, to the business network. So based on the supplier's preference, Ariba network is capable enough in order to convert these to the supplier's required formats. There are specific settings obviously you need to do it in order to convert that, but generally it supports all the different aspects of formats when it comes to the suppliers. Not just the ERPs, there can be many scenarios where the Ariba needs to be integrated with the third party solutions or the systems. So that's again a different topic altogether, but now currently we wanted to stick with Ariba CIG. So Ariba CIG comes into picture when the customers have an SAP ERPs in their landscape, right? Whether it can be ECC, S4HANA, S4HANA, private cloud, public cloud, anything. For all these SAP ERP integrations, we can for sure go with the recommended approach of Ariba CIG in order to tightly integrate these systems together in order to support the entire procure to pay interfaces or the life cycle, right? It supports all the different Ariba solutions which is there in the market. So now I'll take a pause here. I just wanted to understand if anyone has a question with respect to the overview or the integration aspect, what we need to check or something. Any questions? Anything which I have to explain again, which is not clear? Okay, I'll take this as no and I'll move forward. You can still see, right, my screen, the reverse CIG overview.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay. Thanks for that. So now let's talk about what is CIG. We have previously discussed the process of how to choose the best integration method. So now we have decided Ariba CIG is my integration method, right? So what exactly is CIG? So forget about the stuff which I mentioned here. So I'll simply explain it. So once any customer, whoever has the corresponding SAP Ariba license in their organization, it is free to enable the CIG component, right? Let's call it that way. So there is no extra license or purchasing in order to enable the Ariba CIG solution. So once you have the necessary Ariba related role, the corresponding customer admin role, that user can be capable of enabling the CIG solution once they have decided to integrate Ariba solutions with their ERP. So what is exactly again CIG? So this CIG, as I mentioned, is Cloud Integration Gateway, but currently SAP rebranded it to SAP Integration Suite, Managed Gateway for Spend Management and Business Network. So this is very big name, but we can still call it as Managed Gateway for Spend Management, right? But still, you can also call it as simply as CIG. They didn't remove this name, but they rebranded this CIG as Managed Gateway. This is just for your information, guys, so that sometime, I mean, you may get confused what is CIG, why they are calling it as again Managed Gateway. SAP is often renaming or rebranding their products, if you are already aware of that, right? So in the same way, they have changed this name, but simply in this demo session, we still call it as this as CIG for your quick calling session. Okay, so currently it is developed on SAP CPI, the integration suite platform. As you can see, the SAP Ariba Cloud gave its cloud platform integration. All these, the related portal, the stuff, the integration out of the box stuff which CIG is delivering is developed on the SAP CPI as an offering, which with which we can simply integrate different solutions of Ariba with buyer, Ariba solutions with the ERP. So now we can call it as this CIG as an integration as a service. Once you have the Ariba license, you can enable the CIG for free. For what and all solutions you wanted to enable CIG, also is in your scope. Based on your scope, you can just enable CIG for that particular solution, whether it is Ariba downstream, upstream, or for the business network processes, right? So that's how we call it as an integration and as a service product, same like CPI. It's developed on CPI, which is the part of the capability of the SAP BTP, right? You might have heard SAP BTP, right? The intelligent platform, the business technology platform. In that, one of the capability is CPI. On that CPI, I mean, this CIG is built and delivered for all the Ariba customers. So that's how you can uh, keep in your mind, like what's the difference between again CPI and CIG. Can we use both? It all depends. I mean, it's we're gonna cover this in their entire live sessions. Once we complete this, what are the different options we have? But on a high level, right, it facilitates the integration of buyers ERP integration, the business network, and also the Ariba solutions. So here you see the different options whatever we have on the CIG portal. Once you enable CIG portal, you'll get the different screens, the integration wizard, integration portal. You have different sections inside CIG in order to support this integration. So that has been depicted here on the left side again by our side, right? So third party systems also be supported if you use extra middleware. So that's what is represented. So CIG currently cannot directly talk or connect to the non-SAP ERP systems. So that's where you bring in extra components of the middleware or anything based on the requirement. But for the SAP based ERPs, we do use CIG add-on, which we're gonna check in the next phase of the session. What is CIG add-on, what needs to be installed, etc. Right? So using the Ariba CIG add-on, we're gonna connect Ariba solutions, which is a buyer solutions, with their SAP ERPs using a component called Cloud Connector for the on-premises ERPs. There are again different ways to connect this. You can use CPI also between CIG and ERP. So it's all depends on your use case, but generally this picture is representing different ways of connecting CIG with the SAP ERPs. You can directly connect CIG with the ERP using Cloud Connector. You can use CPI also in between CIG plus CPI when connecting to ERP. If there is a third party system in your scope, right, you can use some extra middleware to connect these two systems and directly connect it, right? So that's how the left side picture represents the connectivity. Again, on the right side comes to the supplier. Even sometimes supplier generally will transact using the business network. All the documents from Ariba goes to network and then to supplier, right? the supplier receives the document of corresponding documents, purchase order of anything. So they do have their SAP ERP on the supplier side. I'm talking about, not the buyer. So if they wanted to integrate their ERPs with the supplier portal of business network, right? So they can still again use Ariba CIG in order to connect their supplier ERPs to CIG in order to post these purchase orders, whatever they receive in the supplier business network, to their ERPs. Even that is possible. Supplier also can use this Ariba CIG, not just for the buyers, right? This is just for your information. The way how the buyers integrate CIG or Ariba solutions using CIG, sellers can also connect their ERPs with CIG. Again, it's SAP ERPs. When I say on the supplier side also, if they have any SAP ERPs, they can also connect that ERP to supplier business network of Ariba using CIG, right? So that's how the users, either on the buyers or seller, has a capability using CIG, they connect to complete their entire procure process. So any questions here with respect to what is CIG, anything on the high level?
Yes, sir. We have one question.
Okay.
So the question is, since as you mentioned, CPI also can be used for the integration purpose.
Your
Just
voice
want to
is,
understand.
Mhm. Yeah, go on, go on.
Is it clear?
Kind of, go on, go on.
Okay. So we just want to know, since you already mentioned that the CPI can also be used for the integration purpose. If CPI can be used, then why CIG? Or what is the difference between CPI and CIG? Because if CPI is already available, again, why do we need CIG also?
Okay, to answer it quickly on the high level, right? So once you have SAP Ariba, you want the projects wants to be delivered quickly. If I go with CIG, right, I can clearly explain the difference here itself. If I go with CIG, there is a pre-delivered out-of-the-box content, right? You enable CIG, you create the necessary configurations in CIG, deploy that corresponding transformations, everything, support in terms of ERP, do the necessary configurations on the ERP, you are good to go, you can integrate it, your project can go live in a phase of months itself, okay, when you do with CIG. So
Okay.
when we have an option also, when I said you can also integrate with CPI, there are other integration methods, even you can integrate with CPI. So what is that? So CPI, even though it is developed on CPI, if you go with directly with CPI, I want to connect Ariba directly with CPI, you have not a provision to use that the standard stuff. Yes, we do have a standard packages in CPI, but there will be an extra effort in the CPI middleware. You have to configure all the iFlows yourself. Okay. When I say iFlows, you have to connect your Ariba system with the CPI. It's up to you. I mean, it's on you only in order to establish this connection. You have to use a corresponding sender adapter in order to connect, pull the data from Ariba to CPI, do all the necessary configurations in terms of data transformation. You have to do Groovy script or whatever, right? Everything should be manual. If you go with CPI, you have to develop everything on your own. Even when connecting to SAP ERP also, you have to establish the connection manually. You have to create from the scratch, right? So
So
where's
does
the
it mean
difference?
that CIG, I mean, all these configurations will be skipped and it will be already maintained in the CIG? Just major difference, sir.
Correct. I mean, you still need to do a configurations in CIG portal, but comparing to CPI, right, the effort will be very less. You just need to create a basic configuration with respect to ERP. What is the ERP name? What connection you are using, right? Those configurations in order to establish the connection is still there. But when it comes to the connectivity part of data transformation, everything out of the box is available in CIG. You don't need to do extra that much manual efforts are not required in CIG. So that is the intention of SAP. We know once customer uses Ariba solutions, right? whatever interfaces they want to use is the standard, nothing gonna change. They have to select generally in those interfaces, right? So based on that, SAP created this CIG solution for those interfaces. You just select the interface you wanted to integrate with ERP, select that interface, the corresponding mapping, the data transformation I'm talking about is already available by standard. If you go with CIG, let's imagine Ariba sent a document of CXML to CPI, right? So S4
Mhm.
will be in another format, whether it is RFC, proxy, IDOC, anything. There you have to manually map each field of, for example, header of Ariba. Header, they have many fields, PR number, payment terms, etc., etc. All these field mapping one by one, you have to map it for all the entire interface, right? Currently, we're talking about one interface, but how many interfaces will be there in Ariba, right? You are understanding, I mean,
Uh,
my,
yeah, yeah, I'm understanding, sir. Just for my information, interface, I mean, it's a new term to me. What is
uh-huh,
it, interface?
okay. Interface is a way how systems communicate or connect with each other, right? So
Mhm.
Ariba as a system, they have their own format of communicating, right? So now Ariba uses something like the SOAP services, I would say, for the transactional data. You also, I mean, at least I hope you are aware about what is transaction data, master data, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So for all of these type of data, Ariba, when it wants to communicate with the external system, whether it be ERPs or anything, Ariba uses a format. Since it is a business platform, we call it as CXML. Some documents which goes to supplier to buyer network, it uses some format, dedicated standard format, commerce extensible markup language. So that is the format generally it uses when the documents are going to supplier. When it wants to connect with ERPs, since based on the type of the interface, and again, interface is what, as I mentioned, for any of the document, let's take PR, purchase requisition document, right? That is kind of approval document with which the procurement process gonna happen. So if you wanted to exchange that document with ERP in order to create a corresponding purchase order document, right? All these documents, when it connects to the external system, so it happens, it should gonna happen via some technology or some kind of integration method, right? So the integration method for each of these documents, we call it as one interface. So using that interface, whether it can, so interface, when I said, it involves many things. You need to establish the connectivity with those systems, do the data transformation. So each object in the SAP Ariba, right, when it communicates with the systems, so we're gonna treat it as one interface.
Okay,
I
got it,
hope
sir.
at least it gives some kind of high level details, right?
Yes, yes. This part is clear. And my next question is like you said, even the supplier can also integrate with the ERP system, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yes.
so here the question is why supplier is required? Because if whatever any document we send, right? So anyhow, the main intention is the buyer should send the documents to the supplier, and the
Mm-hmm.
supplier is able to receive it
Mm-hmm.
through our Ariba system using the integration. But
Correct.
why supplier need to use the CIG? I mean, just
That's
I
where
would like to know the importance.
okay. So that's where I clearly mentioned there will be some kind of suppliers. So currently we are not bothered about supplier, how they will do, what system they'll use. But in some cases, there will be requirement like there will be a type of suppliers, integrated suppliers. That's what we call them as, who has their own ERP system, right? Same like a buyer,
Okay.
how they are having the ERP system. So those suppliers, we call it as an integrated supplier, who wanted these documents, whatever we are sending from Ariba to them, they wanted to be also available in their ERP. Likewise, how buyers wanted their data or the documents in their ERP system, a copy of any of the requisition, purchase order, everything, right? Similarly, how buyer wants their data in their ERP, which is a main organizational software, right? ERP. So that's how there are some integrated suppliers who wanted their data in their corresponding ERPs. It's up to their requirement. But we are not going to talk about how to integrate their ERPs with the supplier. That is not the topic. We're going to cover only the buyer side integrations of using how. But this is just for your extra bonus points. I wanted to clear out so that you will be aware. Okay, not just buyer side, on the supplier side also you can use this corresponding CIG platform to integrate, right? So that's the intention or why I highlighted that point.
Okay, okay, sir.
Yeah.
So, Kumar,
Okay.
my question is like, I have a question.
Yes, go on.
Okay, so my question is like, when we initiate the CIG integration, is it that we integrate it with all the modules at one point of time, or do we do it separately? So, for example, suppose if I am integrating the SLP only, okay, so I'll be selecting the SLP components initially. Maybe after some time, once SLP is completed, I'll be doing it for BNI, buying and invoicing, or maybe a guided buying. So how exactly would you, map the modules for SLP or buying and invoicing module and commerce automation? Can you please help me understand?
Sure, sure. So see, there is no dedicated rule that you should go in a one by one phases, right? So all these solutions will go hand in hand, right? You can parallelly start building or integrating Ariba solutions of SLP. You can parallelly do it for upstream, downstream, all the solution. You can do all the solution integration at once with the ERPs. So there is no restriction that you should follow one by one. So you can integrate all the solutions, develop that, build that at a time. I hope that answers. You
Yeah,
just need to
which is fine.
enable,
But
you
when
just
you,
need to enable
yeah,
the only prerequisite is enable the CIG in their corresponding solutions, whether is it
uh-huh,
business network, if you wanted to connect your ERP with the business network
uh-huh,
for the commerce automation solution. You just need to enable the CIG, make sure the CIG is
uh-huh,
enabled for Ariba network. Similarly, if you
uh-huh.
wanted to integrate Ariba upstream, whether it is
Okay,
contracts, supplier lifecycle management, or even for the contracts sourcing. So you
uh-huh.
just make sure you enable CIG in that corresponding solution and you are good to go. You are good to integrate those solutions with ERP. So there is no restriction.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So let's suppose I wanted to integrate SLP first. So can you
Mm-hmm.
just share your screen and show us an example as to how are you going to integrate SLP initially and how will you map it uh, with S4HANA and SAP Ariba and how exactly will you initiate? Can you just get onto that Ariba and S4? Instead of
Yeah,
this
but
PPT sheet, I don't want.
no, this is today's session. I mean, I'm very sorry. Unfortunately, this is just the demo session, right? It's not about sharing the screen and showing that. For sure, once we complete this demo session, we can clearly explain every solution integration,
Which is
how
which
to
is
do
fine,
it.
sir. I just wanted to take a look how the interface looks like, how exactly it
Okay,
looks like.
maybe
I'm
I
not
do
asking you
have
to do
a,
the integration.
yeah,
You have any
I,
snapshot or something?
hold on. So I do have a screenshot. You see my screen, right?
Yes, sir, we can.
Yeah. So this screenshot, I'm showing it from the Ariba downstream or anything. It doesn't matter, right? So once you are in your Ariba solution, let's take I'm in the Ariba solution upstream. I'll go to my manage administration section. There you have a section called integration manager. Okay. So there you have a section called managed gateway for spend and network. This is nothing but CIG. So you select that. Once you select that,
Okay.
it will show something like this. So the below there are web
Okay.
services. I think this is from the downstream point of view, all the web services you can see. So once you come here,
Okay.
you see some buttons, check boxes.
Okay.
So you select these check boxes, meaning you
Mhm.
are agreeing that you are enabling CIG for that particular Ariba solution. Okay. And also, what are the below ones? What are these tasks? So these are nothing but there are different services in downstream, right? I mean, I call it as interfaces technically. So which and all interfaces you wanted to enable it via CIG integration, right? For example, if I select export change purpose order, select this checkbox, this one, whatever is relevant to me, which I wanted to integrate via CIG from Ariba to ERP. So I'll select all those tasks. So there will be many tasks below, right? So you select what in the all web services or the interfaces which you wanted to integrate, select all those checkboxes, and there will be save button below after this. So once you click that, that means you have enabled CIG for this and all interfaces. So that's how quickly when I'm also explaining, right, when it's with the CPI and all these. For CPI you have to manually create all these endpoints, create an endpoint, outbound endpoint, enable it in the service, corresponding web service. With CIG you just enable CIG, select what and all interface you want. So that's how quick it is in order to enable CIG. And in CIG portal also, what configurations you do, it's a single, I mean the configuration is very easy. So that's why SAP recommends this method of integration when do you have these standard checkboxes ticked. So I hope at least this will give some high level picture of how to enable, where to enable CIG, what and all needs to be ticked, right? But detailed explanation, sorry, I cannot show it in the demo session.
No,
We
I mean,
wanted to do
yeah,
the.
I mean, not for the detail, but then my interest was to understand for
Mhm.
every module you make certain changes on MM or S/4HANA. So, how will you do that, and how will you link CIG to S/4HANA so that you're able to do the transaction transfer?
Okay, I mean, similarly, see here I enabled CIG for the downstream, right? This is the downstream part. I came to the buying an invoice, I enable CIG. Similarly, if you have Ariba upstream solutions also in scope which you wanted to integrate, do the similar stuff there also in the manage administration, go to integration manager, you will have this, select that, select the corresponding web services. You will have there all the upstream related interfaces, export, the SLP related stuff also. You select those services. So that's how you enable CIG connecting the Ariba solutions. Maybe that's how you see wherever. Here we are talking about Ariba CIG, right? So this is the architecture. You go to the Ariba solutions wherever you wanted to enable the CIG. Click that check boxes. Click on enable, and also I have read all the terms and conditions, and below you select the web services you want. After selecting that, once you click on save, there will be a connection established between Ariba solutions and the CIG portal. In the middle, this is the CIG portal. So this connection is an internal connection. You cannot see this connection, how this is linked. This is internal to SAP. You don't need to manually configure this, right? Once you click that enable, check that checkboxes, a connection will be established automatically. If you want to remove, uncheck that checkboxes, click on disable, right? So that's how once you enable also you can disable the CIG way of integration. So once you establish connect, similarly in the down you have Ariba network. When you wanted to do the transactions with the commerce automation, supply chain collaboration, so that's how you also go to business network administration, I mean the configurations, where you also have a section for managed gateway, similar to Ariba solution. How you have in the section of when you create a business endpoints, or the place where you configure the default transaction rules in Ariba Business Network. If you are aware, in that section itself, in that page itself, you have a section for Ariba CIG also. So there, do the same stuff. Select, click, enable CIG. So the CIG will be enabled for Ariba Network also. So that's how it links Ariba Business Network to CIG portal. So now once the connection is established, right? So now we are good to go. Whatever documents we create, it will route to CIG now. So what I have to do, if I need to connect CIG with the ERPs, right? On the left side, you see the customer network, They can have SAP S/4HANA, SAP ECCs. They can also have SAP clouds, public clouds, private clouds. It's not the topic of how to integrate this in this today's session, but in the coming sessions, maybe once you join, I can clearly explain how to connect CIG with even with the S4 cloud systems using IES scenarios. That's what we call when integrating it. But the standard coming back to S4 and on-premises ECCs, you have to install a specific add-on, which we call it as a Ariba CIG add-on, right? So this can be downloaded from SAP Service Marketplace, SAP Me. There you have a section for downloading softwares. So you go there, select that software of Ariba CIG, download that based on your SAP ERP. Whether it is S/4HANA or ECC, you have to select that. I think somewhere I've shown that also. Yeah. So this tells about how to download the CIG and add-on, right? If yours is S/4HANA, go to that select particular path, select that corresponding add-on. There can be multiple add-ons, right? You see, for SAP ERPs, which is ECC, you will have all these three add-ons. First is the primary add-on for ECC or ERPs, we call it CI1, ARB 100. So this is the primary one. So all these add-ons supports for the SAP systems of 6.0, EHP0 to the latest. There are some basic requirements again. We may also ask, how do I know which add-on I have to download, right? So for that, I've clearly explaining here, based on your SAP ERP version, your EHP enhanced pack also, right? Based on that, you have to select the corresponding add-on when you are downloading it, right? So there are multiple add-ons here. So which one I have to install? Should I install all these three? Not required. So this is the primary one. For sure you need CI1, right? If you are using one or more Ariba solutions. If you have solutions like the upstream one of contracts, the invoicing, contract invoicing, service related procurement in the strategic solution, in order to support these solutions from Ariba, then you also have to download and install the CI2, right? This CIGR is only for the retail customers. When do you have this retail related scope in your ERP, which wanted to integrate it with the sourcing of Ariba? So if this is in scope, then only you need to install. Unnecessarily, I recommend don't install everything which is not required. So that's how you follow. Don't install, right? There will be some audit compliance also happen on the ERP. So you have to make sure that you install the necessary add-ons only. So that details, it's clear what you have to install, right? So that's how you install your CIG add-on on your ERP here. So what is this add-on? What exactly it will give you? It will give you all the necessary objects, interfaces, programs. When I say object, it's not just the tables or any of the basic objects, but also proxies, the web services which supports this integration, right? Once you install, you have everything available in CIG in order to integrate these systems with ERP. So that's why we are calling it as CIG method is a recommended, because once you install the add-on, it's SAP add-on. We are not installing some third-party add-on, right? It's SAP provided standard out-of-the-box add-on, which we are installing on the ERP, with which you will get all the necessary programs even when you wanted to replicate master data from your ERP to Ariba, right? Master data is the main preliminary, the first step in order to load any organization ERP to Ariba, right? So you will get a standard program. I think I've shown somewhere here. With that, you can integrate your, this is a standard program, ERP CIG master data export, with which you use the program, configure the necessary parameters. There are many parameters which you need to enable, right? So that once you run this program, the relevant master data will be picked. there will be many master data, right? Once you select the company code, if you want to send the company code org data from your ERP to Ariba, so in this program you select that corresponding master data, give the realm IDs of Ariba, which realm ID you wanted to post this, whether it is full load or incremental load, all these you can generally define there, right? That's how the basic requirements from the clients also, right? So you want to do sometimes the full load in the initial phase, sometimes you wanted to schedule automatic jobs. Everything is supported here. In this case, you can schedule a background job in order to load these master data also, that, right? If you don't go with CIG add-on, so think about how you load the master data to Ariba. You have to manually configure the web services, point it out to Ariba solutions. Maybe it can be direct solution, but you have to in background create a logic, maybe ABAP code or whatever. You need to write an ABAP code in order to fetch that company code data from so and so tables of Ariba, sorry, SAP, right? But with CIG add-on, the logic is already there. The program is already there. You just configure the necessary parameters in S4 or ERP, execute that program, you have the master data ready and to be transferred to your Ariba solutions. So that's how you generally integrate on a high level. I'm just mentioning, right? So when it goes from ERP to Ariba, you don't need any extra security components. The connection is going to be HTTPS. The data will be transferred via SOAP protocol in the XML formats. For master data, it can be CSV files as Ariba requires, right? In master data, we have to load the master data in zip format with the CSV files. There is also different ways, but the corresponding program generates the same way of how Ariba wants. But when Ariba sends the data to ERP, so you have to do necessary configurations in CIG for sure in order to establish the connection from ERP to CIG. Here the connection is automatically enabled. You don't need to do anything. Just create the connection from ERP to CIG. Again, it's very easy. You just need to follow some basic standard process, some 4 or 5 steps in order to establish the connectivity. So when the data goes from CIG to ERP, right? Sometimes your ERP is on premise, meaning it's not on the cloud. But Ariba is a cloud system. When the data is coming from cloud to on premise, right? Every organization or a customer wants to protect their organization by not exposing their infrastructure to cloud environment. Cloud is public, right? Everyone can access it if they have proper authorization. So in order to stop that kind of exposure, we use a security component, right, called SAP Cloud Connector. So there is also a section about Cloud Connector. What is Cloud Connector? How it helps, right? So Cloud Connector is again, as I mentioned, is a security component which helps in integrating your Ariba solutions with the ERP. So this is only for the inbound scenario of ERP. You only require Cloud Connector when data is coming to ERP, not from this case, because we are exposing SAP ERP's infrastructure to outside. Here we have a control as ERP is only sending the data, but here in this receiving case, we need to use the security component, do the necessary configuration in Cloud Connector. Generally, the basis team will configure this in order to configure the related Ariba CIG configurations here to establish this connectivity, right? This is only for one way when it is coming to the ERP, right? So I think we're already, we have only few minutes left. So I hope I've clear, in terms of explaining what is CIG, how it is beneficial when compared to other integration solutions, how to integrate for sure we'll discuss in the live sessions once we register and do it. But any other
Sir,
big,
would you,
Backend
sir,
access.
would you like to, yeah, would you like to show the SAP MM or S4HANA and display as to how do you start with the integration? Because that's the tool from where we initiate everything, and then we move on to SAP Ariba Cloud Integration Gateway.
Correct, correct.
Just wanted to
Yes,
see how exactly.
yes. So there are
So
list of
because
activities,
I
as I
don't.
mentioned.
I mean, my focus is not to jump on everything at a time. I just wanted to pick up topics one by one. So initially, let's say I'm doing SLP and then I'm moving on to contracting or let's say sourcing. So how will you do them one by one, step by step? What all prerequisites are required and how will you proceed? So can you just give us a brief introduction on that? That is really helpful.
Yes. So for any of the solution integration, right, as you mentioned for SLP or anything, there are some certain configurations which we for sure needs to enable. Let me check if we have it somewhere to show you before explaining.
So you
If
don't
it,
have access to S4HANA or SAP. Yeah, I mean that will be really helpful
we
if you
do
can show
have,
that.
see, we do have for sure, but the intention of this session is to give you that details, not into deep diving into the S4, even the high level details. It is not for this session actually. Okay, but for sure I can explain. These are all the, I mean, high level configurations which you need to do. For sure you need to enable CIG on that corresponding solution. For example, if you wanted to integrate SLP, go to upstream, enable CIG, with which you already connected Ariba SLP with the CIG. In CIG, what I need to do, you have to create a project. You see on the sixth step, once the connectivity is established in Ariba, create a corresponding integration project. That's what we call in CIG. Again, that I cannot again open CIG portal to show you all the details, but I think I have captured some screenshots to show you. This is how the CIG portal looks. Once you enable CIG, you will get a link to access the CIG portal. So there is no direct login to Ariba CIG. Okay, you always have to access CIG portal from your Ariba solutions only, whether it is
From
upstream,
Ariba,
downstream.
from Ariba only. No, no, no. From Ariba downstream, when we go to manage, and then from there we go to SM admin or maybe core administration, we can quickly get onto the left-hand
Mm-hmm,
side where we have cloud integration
mm-hmm,
manage gateway. Okay.
mm-hmm.
Now, I wanted to know how you will proceed from there. I mean,
So
not getting a
that's
clear picture of
again
that.
that will cover the entire implementation, right? So I cannot cover that. That's what the
Okay,
intention of this
fine.
session.
So
Okay.
I have one question.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Backend,
go
I
on.
mean, is backend access will get what kind of access?
I request Subbu to comment on this. Subbu, are you there? Hello. Hello, Subbu. If you are talking, you are on mute.
Who I can see he is
Yes, sir.
available on this meeting.
Yeah.
Hello?
So, I mean, guys wanted to know. So, what kind of ERP will get it? Is it S4HANA, ECC? What access they will get once we start the
As per
training
HANA
session?
ECC, sir.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
As
And
per HANA ECC integration.
will they get access in order to check these configurations?
Yeah, once I will share the demo, you can check with in first class.
Yes.
Totally configured that system also. Already running batches, sir. So as per
Okay.
HANA and CIG Ariba, three are integrated.
Yeah.
And this will cover commerce automation, integration, and sourcing also,
Yes, yes, we're gonna cover
buying and
all the
invoice.
Ariba solutions integrations, upstream, downstream commerce automation, but not on terms of supply chain collaboration, right? Supply chain collaboration, if you know, there are many components, subcontracting, inventory management, quality management.
Mhm.
So we don't go to that level. The basic PO collaboration, yes, for sure.
Okay, fine. That's it.
But I mean, that can also be handled if you have any requirement. But the training is mainly focused to cover all the upstream, downstream commerce network and all the custom stuff in terms to custom mappings, custom routings, how we're going to achieve if we have multi ERP in your case, right? So we cover all those.
Okay, fine.
Kumar, just a follow-up question, like for any integration, we need to perform certain configuration at S/4HANA side as well as some at the Ariba solution side, and some configurations at the might be integration side, CIG side. So are we going to cover all the three sides?
Yes, that's the intention. Yeah.
Even the S/4HANA side also you are going.
Yes. We'll do all the configurations in order to send the documents from Ariba,
The
receive it in
inter-solution.
the ERP, send back the response also to Ariba. Yeah.
No, documents will flow. I agree. The thing is, so already a configured S/4HANA system is different. So from the scratch, you are going to configure. So that is different. So my question is second one. So are we going to configure everything even in S4?
Yes.
Okay. And next question is like as you said, you will be covering all the models. So when it comes to upstream, SLP is there, sourcing is there, contract management is there, might be catalog management. So you are going to cover all these as a bulk entire upstream, or sometimes many customers will go only for SLP, some may go only for sourcing, some may go only for contracts. So how to integrate when some of the customers go only for SLP, that also will be included.
Correct. See, we're going to cover all the solutions of Ariba. That's what I mentioned previously, right? Upstream, downstream. When I say
Okay.
upstream, the SLP will be included. The strategic sourcing, which includes both sourcing, starting from RFQ, from ERP, coming to the contract creation or outline agreement creation in S4.
Excuse me, Ram. This is
Yeah. Sudha, go on.
hello. I would like to know that S4HANA system access as well as the Ariba system access will be provided from your end.
Yes, it should be. Right, Subbu? Can you confirm the same?
Yeah, that will be discussed after demo.
Okay.
Sudha.
Yeah, I mean, again, Ramesh, we will
Okay,
decide
okay,
the
fine.
plan of implementation also. So whether what going to be covered in the entire sessions, right? The integration end to end. So there will be multiple aspects in terms of interfaces integration, right? We'll see what is the plan, what and all topics to be covered in the integration, right? It's not like everything can be full speeded in terms of integrations. For sure, the important aspects of the interface configuration, what is required, will show all the interfaces enablements. But again, if you the basic is done, the process can be the same. Yeah, I just wanted to highlight like everyone is asking that will you cover everything means yes for sure, but there are many interfaces which will be complex, so that we will decide on the training plan. Right, for example, the schedule agreements we have to create it from the Ariba to S4, that requires a different setup. So we will decide on the plan of the training, what and all will be included in this training. So for sure we will decide and create that plan for us. Any other questions which they wanted to understand?
Hi Kumar, I have one question related
Mhm.
to CIG.
Yeah.
Okay, means it's a scenario, one question. So let's say we have a custom field, okay, and created
Mhm.
for India region, just to say GST. Okay, it is for India region only. Let's for other POs,
What
it
is
is
the
not
first
there.
duration?
Sorry, is someone saying something?
Yeah, I think by mistakenly they have spoken. Yeah, yes, for sure. See, if the custom field is there for any of the document in
Huh.
CIG, until unless that custom field is coming in the structure or the interface payload level, For sure, we're gonna achieve this custom mapping in CIG in order to map it to ERP, or even from ERP to Ariba, we're gonna
Hello.
do the custom field mapping.
Understood. So that field, while doing mapping, will it come automatically in CIG, or do we have to do anything like that?
See, it all depends on the type of field. For example, let's take if you have created a header field at so and so sourcing level, right? So how you should make that field available to the integration? Do you know that?
I'm not aware as of
Okay,
now.
so generally we will define the field when we create the field. For example, the custom field itself, again, it's a functional stuff. How we create a custom field, how to make it exportable. So there is a section called, we will define when we create the field itself, we'll mark it as exportable to the payload. So that's how you create any field, not the standard field, the custom field. If you wanted to export it to the payload, meaning you wanted to integrate this so and so field to the ERP, then you have to create the field in such a way, right? So if that is created in that way, for sure that custom field will be visible in the structure
Yeah,
payload.
understood. Understood.
Yeah,
Understood. Got it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Dilak. Hello, Dilak or Venkatesh, anyone if you want to go. Dilak, you wanted to ask something? Or Venkatesh, you were saying something. If you want to go, you can. Hello.
Kumar, one
Yes.
more question.
Yeah, yeah,
Standard
yeah.
standard fields will already be mapped, right, in CIG. Only the customs field we have to do like
Correct,
that.
correct,
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
So that is the advantage of CIG, right? As I mentioned, you don't need to map all the Ariba fields with S4. By standard, what is required, for example, to create a purchase order in S4, what are all the mandatory fields at the header, accounting, line level, right? So all the mandatory fields by default, SAP has delivered that as out of the box. If you want to add any custom field extra, yeah, it's up to you to create that custom mapping, do the necessary stuff on both the ends. On the ERP also, you have to create an enhancement, right, in order to capture that custom field into the structure. So that's the basic requirement, but we are not going to cover that stuff for sure in the training. How to create an ABAP enhancement in order to capture that custom field, right? So this is mainly for the CIG. We're going to show you how to do this CIG related configurations on the CIG portal, both the custom mappings, custom routings. On the ERP stuff, we don't touch or train about the ABAP related enhancements. I mean, I just wanted to make clear so that later you come into, I mean, expectation that show me the enhancement to create ABAP logic to capture these data.
No, sir, like we are not going to ask any ABAP logic,
Yeah.
but at least out of the box from the standard fields,
Yes. Yes.
at least one field you must consider, sir. One custom field. Because always it doesn't work with the 100% standard fields, right? So
By
just for
standard,
our
yes, for
understanding,
sure.
we request you to one custom field where you can maintain either at header level or at line item level, or if required, one header or one line item level, one custom field, you bring it from S4 to Ariba.
We'll see on that, but for sure I can
No. See, it's a general sentence, sir. Like we should be very clear. Are we covering it or not?
see. I'll discuss that with the team, and I'll let you know for sure, right?
Sure.
If I'll guarantee that if it's not there, then you again disappointed, right? So that's why I don't wanted to give that 100% confirmation. For sure, in CIG, how to do that mapping, it will be covered. So that will show on the S4 side how that field is coming. For example, there is no standard field on the S4 to capture this custom. So how are we going to do that? So that process for sure we're going to show that in the CIG, where to map that in order to show or visible in the S4 structure payload.
No. Let's be very specific, sir. What I'm requesting is there is a S4 field that we need into Ariba. But in Ariba, the standard field is not available for that. So in that case, we need to be created a custom field in Ariba. But to fill that custom field in Ariba, the value should come from S4 to Ariba. So for this activity, so you need to whatever the customizations or even at the integration side, how to map everything that you need to cover in this session. That is the
Okay, I
requirement.
agree for sure. In the integration side, we're gonna add that S4 if it sends it. If we do have any custom field, for sure we're gonna show you how to map it to the Ariba custom extrinsic field. But I don't know if you already know if there is a custom field on the Ariba, if that needs to be enabled. Will that be in our hands or SAP should help us?
Yeah, obviously header. In that case, forget about the header level field. Let's go with the line item level field.
Yeah, I mean, whatever where we don't have dependency with SAP Ariba, shared services or any other stuff, that gonna work. Yeah, for sure we're gonna do that.
Yeah, I don't think the shared service help is required in order to create a custom field and map at the line item level.
I think I'm not clearly
It's
explained. See, the integration side for your sure on the CIG portal, how to map that S4 structure to the Ariba custom field, it's gonna be covered. But if it gonna show on the Ariba side, right? If that custom extrinsic field, it is coming at the even at the PO layout, whatever. If it supports, yes, then there is no worries. I mean, we can for sure test that.
understood, sir. So the only thing what we are expecting from you is like the general sentence should not be there if it supports, because even we know it supports.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
that's
I'm
the
never
reason that
highlighted that.
clarity I need. I mean, confirm sentence we are expecting, sir. Yes, that is possible, and we will cover it. Because today, if we give assurance, yes, we will see, we will check it if it supports like that. And in future, that doesn't support or that doesn't work or it will not be covered. It will be problem for us. So that's the reason we are just want to get the clarity on this.
Sure, sure. I mean,
Because
if I
those are the
explained it,
points for that reason, we are expecting.
for sure we're gonna do that. So if I explained it wrongly, so I'm not sure, right? So whatever is supported, for sure we're gonna do that, test that to show that, right? So I don't wanted to say that, I mean, it's not supported or something, but if anything, whichever I mean, clearly underlined, right? So that's what, but for sure, yeah, I mean, you are all functional experts, maybe some, right? So you already know how that works. So let's see, we'll create a plans to cover all these aspects based on the requirement. Let's see. Yeah. Any other questions before we wind up the call? Any standard basic questions you wanted to understand? Okay, fine. Then I'll take this as no. So please contact Subbu in that, right? In that email or even the chat. So please reach out to him, confirm your presence in this training so that we'll proceed. We'll quickly plan this. We'll try to cover very clearly about these integrations so that you will understand which helps you in your implementations. Yeah. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kumar.